Hey everybody, this is Matthew Soltesiak, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast, part of the Minute Media Podcast Network. This season, it's all grit. I speak with a variety of guests and interview key players, gaining more insight on what makes this team go. The Detroit Lions are now in a new, grittier era, and we look beyond just the kneecaps when it comes to the analysis. Welcome to another episode. In this episode, we discuss the Detroit Lions' 47-9 win over the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about the second consecutive offensive explosion by Detroit, as well as the shutdown by Aaron Glenn and the Lions' defense. We'll also talk more about the crucial injury sustained to Aidan Hutchinson. That and more. Let's get to it, Lions fans.
This is Trevor Nowaski, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
Joining me today, James Cook, senior sports writer for the Traverse City Record Eagle. You can also hear him on the Get Around podcast. That drops on Mondays. Good to have you here, James.
Thanks for having me.
And joining both of us is Coach Jerry Angers, former Michigan High School Coach of the Year, as well as Coach of the Week by the Detroit Lions, and current scouting and training director for Bull Rush Sports. Coach, good to have you here as well.
Oh, great to be here with you guys as usual after a big victory.
All right, let's do what we do. What's your overall reaction to this game in a sentence or two? Coach, we'll start to you, then go to James.
Total domination, both sides of the ball. We talked about it in our pregame announcement and worried about special teams. Well, they got us in the kickoff return, so we're going to give them that. I think they won the hidden yardage on that, but then again, we punted 0 times. So, but just total domination, offense, defensively, big plays on both sides of the ball from many individuals on a team.
Yeah, the Lions just completely dominated this game from start to finish. Even when the backups were in, even in the third quarter. I love how they didn't take their foot off the gas. They kept pouring points on in the second half. The defense just kept taking the ball away from Dallas. And this looked like a high school game between mismatched teams rather than an NFL team.
All right, I'm going to say the offense and defense dominated. This game was everything we wanted up until that Aidan Hutchinson injury, of course. But the way the team played after was pretty impressive. Let's hear from Coach Campbell about what he thought about this game.
As far as the guys, man, I thought we really played the most complete game we've probably played here in a long time, if not the most since we've been here. I just thought all phases stepped up, particularly offensively and defensively. We applied pressure. We finally got a multiple takeaway game, and, they came in bunches. We've talked about it. These things will come in bunches.
So, guys, Coach Campbell said it was their most complete game, a total team effort. But, Coach, you already brought up the special teams thing. Jack Fox didn't even play in this game. So how can it be a total team effort without Jack Fox?
Totally agree. I heard a stat, too, that I didn't realize we'd talk about, that he's only had 1 return yard against them all year. And so I think that I don't know what the average comes out to. Let's see, it's 1 and we've got 5. Yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. But that's totally awesome. And that's a sign of, just a great team that you can continue to put pressure on. Teams are down. They're this body, this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt. It's the NFL. These guys are making a lot of money to play football. And if they're on a roster, they're the 1% of 1%. So the thing is the Lions went in there and said, we don't care who's injured. We don't care. We're going to Dallas. We lost last year in Dallas. It was a big game. It's been on the back burner, on our back shelf all year. Could not wait to get back. And they took care of business, and it was just great to see.
All right, James, how about you?
Yeah, they did everything. The offense dominated, took it to Dallas. The defense dominated. They took the run away right away, made Dallas one-dimensional. And yeah, like Coach said, about the only thing that Dallas did was that 1 kick return. That was their best play of the day, kind of, and 1 freaky catch from CeeDee Lamb that wasn't even really that great on target.
All right. Yeah, Coach, what do you got here?
Well, one thing, we talked about in the pregame, and remember we talked about Dan Campbell last week, and he said that Gibbs is going to have a big game I feel he's going to have a breakout. And then he had also mentioned Tim Patrick. Well, Patrick had a big game. And Gibbs, if you guys, and I'm gonna bring something up during the game, that the second play of the game, Gibbs was substituted in for Monty, and they tried to throw a little flare pass to him. The Lions never do that. They're always running Monty and Gibbs, and then if they get 4 or 5 big runs or something like that, then they sub them. So I thought that was pretty neat that, because he had mentioned that Gibbs was good. They were trying to get Gibbs that big game. The other one, Gibbs ran that seam route. They ran a seam route to Gibbs, and he didn't get his head around quick enough. But again, you can see what we have. It's scary. And then our fourth wide receiver had a big game. So, they are getting everybody involved, and you know what? They didn't pull any punches in this game. They basically sent out a message to the NFL. You better figure us out, because if not, we are going to put points up, and nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Well, that brings us right into what we liked about this game, and there were so many things to like about. Let's start first with the running game, Coach. You brought that up. The Detroit Lions running game showed up in a way we thought it would. David Montgomery, 12 carries, 80 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 for 63. Craig Reynolds saw some action, 6 for 21. J-Mo had an end around for 11 yards. Vaki had a carry, 184 yards when all was said and done. It would have been one more, I think, if Hendon Hooker hadn't taken a kneel down, and that's kind of incredible that happened. So, James, how happy were you to see that the Lions' offensive rushing game was this effective?
Well, it's what we had kind of hoped for, given the state of the Cowboys' defensive line, that they would just come out and establish the run. They certainly did that. They pounded the ball. They ran for yardage almost at will. Montgomery had that one huge run where he just broke a couple of tackles there in the first quarter, and I think that kind of established the momentum, or took away any momentum from Dallas. I mean, they moved the ball a little bit in the first quarter, Dallas did, but Detroit's defense took the ball away and forced a field goal in the other one, and actually had a takeaway that got negated by a penalty on the other. So, Dallas actually, after initially doing some things, Detroit just said, and shut them down, both offensively and defensively, and just controlled the ball on offense too, to kind of keep their offense off the field.
Yeah, winning the time of possession starts with that running game, and the Lions did that by about 10 minutes, I think, when all was said and done. Coach, this was a strength. Campbell said they were going to do it. Even if Gibbs didn't have the biggest numbers on the stat line, Monty is one with a couple touchdowns. You're right, though. They had Gibbs up, and they threw a pass to him. You liked what you saw out of the run game. How much encouragement does this give you?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And we'll talk about that announcer that it was announcing the game. I think that guy won a few games as a quarterback. I can't remember. Anyways, Brady talked about it. He said, the thing about the Lions is they have so many weapons. And who are you going to stop? You're going to, all right, Laporta caught. Would Laporta have one catch today? Touchdown, right? Made it 2. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, right? 1. I mean, those are the things that you look at.
Yeah, they had 1.
Yeah, and Patrick had 2 big ones, and then but his biggest thing was, he said, when you got an offense that establishes a run like that, and now they're 2-dimensional, and then they can throw into their trick plays in it. He said the play action pass, Jared Goff and play action pass. He was saying he said it. It was great to hear him, because his last few years he didn't, and for the Patriots he didn't have a clean pocket, and it was clean. Jared just sat back there and said, that receiver's open, but I think this one's a little bit farther downfield, and just picked them apart. And you can't, when you got a team on, and then you run a jet sweep with was it J-Mo, or I don't even know. We got so many weapons, I can't remember who all did everything. And that's the point, is that, we can run the football, we can pass the ball, we can throw screens, we run trick plays, we can run jet sweeps. Now, Jared Goff can run. I mean, he's actually had a couple more runs this week. He saved that one that could have been a sack, turned it into a 2-yard gain, and then he had the other one down by the end zone. And so I think those are things, we may have, people are, I'm sure, saying, why didn't we just run the ball when we're down the end zone? Why did we run those 2 or 3 trick plays? Why did that? People, I'm talking from a coaching standpoint, you have to sit there now, and when you run a practice, you have to bring that up. You have to spend 5 to 10 minutes and say, the Lions could do this, or the Lions could do that, and the Lions can do that. That takes away the time of trying to put a scheme together to stop a team from running the ball, or put a scheme together to stop a team from passing the ball. And when you got Gibbs lining up and on the empty set, running a streak, running a takeoff. Hell, I think we had a 6'9", 350-pound tackle out there at wideout tonight too. And I mean, that's just the stuff. Defend it, and that's what Detroit's saying right now. Try to defend us. You can't do it.
Well, we're going to talk about that with all the trick plays a little bit later, and about what that can mean, because you're bringing up some very excellent points. It's going to cause people to think a little bit. But I want to go to Tim Patrick, because you already brought him up. You got to like him. On the first drive of the game, it's 3rd and 5, and Jared Goff connects with him on about a 45-yard pass. If that doesn't tell you how integrated this guy's become into the offense and how big of a piece he is, nothing will. James, how thrilled were you to see that, and what are you seeing out of Patrick, and what does this mean?
Yeah, I think that was huge, and that was on former Lion Amani Oruwariye as well on that play that they beat in that coverage. Yeah, and it's 3rd and 5. It's a big situation. That was the situations last year where they were going to Josh Reynolds, to get those first down, move the chains type of plays. But they go for the big chunk play. They got him isolated one-on-one outside with no safety close to help, and Goff just threw it up and let him go get it, which you normally do not see Jared Goff do very much. Goff is normally I want you open by 3 yards before I'm going to throw you the ball. He's not a 50-50 ball guy. So that just tells you how much he trusts Tim Patrick after just a few weeks.
Growing your business can mean big-time logistical questions, like how are we going to keep up with all these local deliveries? Let Uber Direct offer you a helping hand. With Uber Direct, you take orders on your website, app, or by phone. Then, drivers who are part of Uber's courier network pick them up from your store and deliver them to your customer's doorstep. Sounds simple, right? Delivery just got better with Uber Direct. Learn more at uberdirect.com.
At Kroger Pharmacy, CARE is making it easy to get vaccinated. CARE is helping you stay protected from flu, COVID, and RSV. Seasonal vaccines are available 7 days a week with evening hours. CARE is giving you a shot at staying healthy this season. Walk in whenever is best and get multiple vaccines in one visit at your local Kroger Pharmacy. So come and get the protection you need while protecting those around you. Kroger Health, a world of care, is in store. Visit Kroger.com/vaccines for more. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See site for details.
Well, and that was awesome. And the surprising part of that, I think, was there probably should have been a pass interference on the defense called on that play, because the rest were liking to call those on the Lions early, and there was no flag. So I'm glad Patrick made that play. And Coach, you texted me during the game something I was thinking, and it was brilliant. And so first, comment on anything you want to with Patrick and what you saw, but then J-Mo dropped a pass. And on the very next play, they went right back to him. He took care of business, and he picked up where he's left off from previous games. Talk about those things, Coach.
Well, Patrick, first of all, just great to see that they have the confidence in him. And, hey, we're going to throw the ball up. We got a big receiver. He's bigger than your DB. And if it is a 50-50 ball, he's going to take it away from you. And I agree with what James said about Goff will throw somebody open, or he'll wait till he sees somebody open, but he does a lot of that, which is all good. But I was so happy. My phone blew up when J-Mo dropped that pass, like, catch the ball, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't even get it out of my mouth. And then he caught the next one. I said, he just did. And that is all coaching. When you got a guy like J-Mo, his confidence was down on that, and you come right back to him, and then what happens? He catches a long touchdown. I don't remember, second quarter, third quarter, long touchdown. He might have dropped that ball if we didn't go back to him right away. That's why the Detroit Lions are so good, and that's why I think they're the best coaching staff, hands down, in the NFL, because there's not many other coaching staffs that would come right back to the guy immediately. They would say, let's throw to somebody else because he's confident. The Lions believe in you, and if you make a mistake, they're going to pick you up. And you know what? Just like the defense did when Hutch got hurt, the same thing happened with J-Mo. Oh, so exciting to see that. Come right back to the guy, and he makes a big catch. He didn't use his hands. He made sure he caught it with his body, but he used his hand on the long one.
For sure. Jameson Williams, 3 catches on 4 targets, only had that one, 76 yards. He had that 37-yarder. Between him and Patrick, they actually didn't get the most targets. And St. Brown got 4 and Gibbs got 5. But Khalif Raymond led the team with 6 targets, 4 catches for 73. What else is there to like out of this receiving core?
I mean, when you get 7 catches for 141 yards out of your number 3 and 4 receivers, you're killing it. There's just so many weapons. I think Brady has said this a bunch of times. He's like, they just have so many weapons on offense that you can't stop them all. Laporta was basically only ever targeted that once on the flea flicker trick play for the 52-yard touchdown. St. Brown only caught 4 passes on 4 targets. One of those was the late touchdown. So, I mean, they didn't even get him incredibly involved until a little bit later. They were just picking the Dallas defense apart.
That they were, and that man picking them apart was Jared Goff with, I think, 153.8 quarterback rating, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. Of course, he opened the game with an incomplete pass because, the streak had to end at some point. So he probably figured, get that out of the way and let's just get to this game. But again, impressive stats by Jared Goff, and all that is made possible by the very good play of our offensive line. James, what do you got?
And to kind of piggyback off going back to Jamison Williams right after he dropped a pass, late in the game, they put Hendon Hooker in the game. First play, they let him throw the ball. You don't see that a lot with backup quarterbacks. Like they were not taking their foot off the gas, even though they were sort of taking their foot off the gas. So that's just another thing about this coaching staff.
Yeah, I love that fact that they just kept going full throttle at it. And again, a big part of this success, Brady even said it. He thinks the Lions have the best offensive line in the NFL. And we saw Skipper in there a lot. We saw Skipper line up at wide receiver, wide right. And let's be honest, I thought there was a chance they might actually throw the ball to him. I mean, and Coach, you're probably going to say I'm crazy for that, but that's what the Lions coaching staff has us all guessing now. What are the Lions going to do? So tell me what you loved out of this offensive line performance, Coach.
Well, I think that was a big thing. Even the goal lines, the big runs, the opening the holes. I think the biggest thing was the impact once they got on a lineman, once they got on a defensive lineman. It wasn't a standstill or a 1-yard push. It was 3, 4, 5 yards down the field. The announcers talked about it all the time. The Lions aren't getting touched. The running backs aren't getting touched till 5, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10 yards down the field. The huge chunk plays all the time. Jared Goff's ability to stand in the pocket and decide which wide open receiver he should throw to. Those are all things that, when you have all that confidence in the offensive line. And then even on a couple of the pressures, Jared just kind of stepped in. I mean, we gave up a couple sacks on, full-blown double-A gap blitzes, which is going to happen. But they come right back to it. And it's just amazing to watch that. I think they bring Usika, what's his name? The guard that played last week.
Coyote Awashika.
Shuka. Geez, oh man, I mess that name up all the time. I got to come up with a nickname for him, A squared or something. But they brought him in at guard and took Glasgow out on a goal line. I don't know if Glasgow got banged up or something. And then, of course, then he got his playing time when Glasgow went to center to get Rags off the field. So, yeah, the offensive line was just tremendous. Again, locking on, double team and climb the next ladder. But when you push the defensive line back and you're giving our running backs the ability to hit 3-4 yards by the pass line of scrimmage before they get touched, you're in a lot of trouble.
Well, and another thing I want to touch on with the offensive line did that good of a job that it wasn't always David Montgomery running over people. We know he does that well, but there was that other run where I think he got down about the 2-yard line. He made like 3 people miss as he weaved his way down there. And so it was nice seeing the physicality and the elusiveness both combined. I mean, on his touchdown run when they're grabbing his shirt, I'm like, they ain't stopping him on this. Before we jump over to defense, James, anything else you want to add about the offense?
Yeah, well, I imagine as a coach, Sherry would probably love this when if his running backs, like the first guy that makes contact is a safety. Because that was happening. I don't know how many times that was, but it happened a lot. Where the first guy to actually get a touch on the running back was a safety because the linemen were so blocking so clean and everything. They ran the tackle eligible play 9 times.
Wow.
And then they had the one time where they did the pitch to Sewell that was almost a touchdown. I think he was going to get ruled down at the 1, but the penalty called it back.
Yeah, that was awesome. And Campbell said after the game that Sewell's got to talk to his other offensive lineman in the room because that's the guy that's responsible for the penalty. But, Coach, what did you see out of a play like that?
Well, first of all, Coach Campbell, when he sees film, he's going to say that's on St. Brown because he made the catch a yard over the line of scrimmage and not on Decker.
Okay.
Because I went back and looked at it because if St. Brown's been on line of scrimmage, it's considered a screen, doesn't matter. So Sewell and Decker were both off, were downfield. So or Rags, I think it was Rags.
Rags is Rag now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually St. Brown caught the ball a yard over. Usually when you run those, the guy steps over and then comes back. But I think St. had made 2 and then came back. And the good thing is now it's on film. They'll make those corrections. And the better thing is the next 12 opponents, right? When we're 4-1, the next 12 opponents are going to have to work on that in practice.
They're not going to leave any offensive linemen open. Like they're going to be covering offensive linemen with linebackers. Like this is amazing. Yeah. Well, let's go to defense a minute. All right. First off, we heard how the Cowboys had all these injuries. That's all they talked about for about half the game. And the majority of those injuries were on defense. I think Brandon Cooks is the main guy that I can think of that's out for the offense, but that's about it. They had a very prolific passer in Dak Prescott. They have CeeDee Lamb, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. They have a great tight end in Ferguson. The Detroit Lions defense, who came into this game without 2 starters of their own who have been lost for this season or the majority of the season, held Dallas to only 3 points on those first 2 drives when they moved the ball. And that was huge, only giving up 3 points. Big part of that was that interception by Branch. They forced 5 turnovers on the day, forced fumbles and interceptions. I'm going to stop talking because I've thrown a bunch of stats out. James, start with you, and then I want to hear from you, Coach. What impressed you about this defense?
Well, there's pressure from all over. I mean, Aleem McNeil was a monster in this game. And then, you saw Josh Pascal putting pressure on at times, even Rodrigo at times, and it was just coming from all kinds of different players. It just wasn't coming from Hutchinson. He had an early sack that was called back by a penalty, I think. But other than that, you saw the pressure coming from all over. Even DJ Reader putting some pressure on and getting some hits on Dak Prescott. So the offensive side of the ball was not where Dallas was dinged up, and the Lions defense still dominated them.
That they did. And, Coach, they lost Kyle Peckel early in the game. And then in the third quarter, Aidan Hutchinson went down, and we'll get more to that later. But even after that, Dallas never found the end zone in this entire game, even though the Lions, you could say, were down 4 guys on defense. They shut down this offense. Now, we thought they were somewhat one-dimensional coming in on Dallas, mostly a pass offense. But the secondary, they stood up to that test.
Oh, for sure. It's the next guy up, with the Lions right now. And we'll go to the Hutch injury. Though the first thing I thought about is Dallas going to go down and score right now because the Lions are going to be. I saw 2 of the best hits in the next 2 plays. Whatchamacallit got kicked in the face because he hit the guy so hard his helmet come off, and those guys just kind of stepped up and said, one of our guys is down, one of our brothers is down. Let's pick him up." And I think that's one of the things that you notice on it. And we, like James said too, everybody was pressured. I think there's a guy from Saginaw Valley State University that got a sack. Trevor Nowaski. I'm trying to think if that's his name. I'm not sure if I know him very well, but I was pretty excited during that. I was just texting with his dad, and he said just a great day. But his dad's exact words are great day, sad about Hutch. And that's even the parents, that's what the Lions are all about. And we just, the pressures, the games. I don't know if you guys noticed it early in the game, but they ran Hutch on a loop inside into the A gap. I saw that one right away, and I'm like, that's something that they haven't been doing. So Aaron, Aaron Glenn's starting to open up those cross blitz concepts, those scheme blitzes, where Rodrigo comes down and picks a guy and the guy comes inside. I think that's how Peko had a sack too, I believe. And so, that's the stuff that I'm seeing out of those guys. And then the corners and safeties and everything, let's talk about the interception, Branch's interception. I'm telling you right now, that is anywhere on the field that probably wouldn't have worked, because he was able to split the difference between the under route and the over route to Lamb. Where is Dak going to go when he gets down there, the end zone? He's going to try to throw that ball. He threw it last week, and CeeDee Lamb was mad because he threw it short and I threw an interception. And so Branch, because he plays like he's been in the league for 10 years. The guy is so smart, and he just sat on that, sat on the under route. If he knew he'd stop that from a first down, and if they threw the over route to CD, he was going to at least knock it down. But the athlete he is, he picked it, and it's just, God, it's so much fun to watch those guys compliment each other. So, and AG, How many different packages is AG running on defense right now? It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and you had sacks from Nowaski, Hutch, and McNeil. Pascal's playing well. Like you said, it was coming from everywhere on defense. The pressure was coming, the interceptions, the forced fumbles. I mean, those were intentional forced fumbles, and that only happens with effort. James, how impressed were you that they won the turnover battle 5-0?
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, you don't lose NFL games when you do that. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but I think it was the last interception in the game by Kirby that was in the end zone. And they panned real quick to Mike McCarthy after the interception, and you could just see him mouth, "Wow."
Yes, I think that's going to become a meme. I really do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah. Now, just adding to that, Brian Branch, after the game, I mean, Campbell said they love him at safety because it's a perfect fit for him in the system, and he can have a little bit of freedom to roam, and we saw that. And I think that actually, when we get to it later, I think that was a pivotal play in the game because it was on the second drive, and it just kind of helped stall Dallas and slow them down right there.
Oh, for sure. His punch out, too. The one when he comes and punches out when Arnold recovers the ball. I mean, you guys even said it. Those are veteran plays, man. And the guy's second year in the league, and he's a very intelligent football player. And I think that's not only from where he came from, Alabama, but also what the Lions are doing with him. It's fun to watch. So.
Well, even after the Hutch injury, you mentioned it, Carlton Davis got kicked in the head. That was a couple plays later. Suddenly, you got Hutch and Davis out. Kendall Vildor comes in. Isaac Ukwu was playing in there along with Kendall Vildor, and, they made the stop. I mean, they forced Dallas to either go for it on fourth down or punt the ball. Probably going for it on fourth down. I don't remember the exact spot there, but the Cowboys' third down efficiency for the game was 3 of 13 and 1 of 4 on fourth down. And that takes into play everything that happened the last quarter and 12 and a half minutes of the third quarter. So the defense kept it going. And so the next guy stepping up, Coach, you talk about it all the time. And if there's any team that's built with depth in the NFL right now, it's got to be the Detroit Lions.
For sure. I mean, the injury is going to hurt too, but they just keep plucking. You just talked about Isaac. He just got elevated this week, and he comes in there and he's putting pressure on people. We got Vildor. Vildor started for us, I think, every game last year, and he come in and fresh off the bench, and they tried to pick on him, and yeah, he got beat a little bit, but what did he do? He sprinted to the receiver and got down there and basically broke the ball up. And that's the depth pieces, and the elite pieces that we have are going to make huge plays, and the depth pieces that we have are going to make good plays, and we're going to win football games with whatever we have on the field.
James, we talked about coming into this game, the Lions shutting down rushing games. We talked about the Cowboys actually taking a step backward by not having somebody like Tony Pollard from last year. Rico Dowdle stepped up last week against Pittsburgh, but he had 5 carries for 25 yards. Zeke Elliott had 8 for 17. The Lions held them to 53 yards rushing. What does that mean to you? What does that do for the Lions with more continued success like this?
Well, just turning them into a one-dimensional offense completely. I mean, I think Dallas had 13 rushing yards at half. And typically you try to rush the ball more in the first half unless you're nursing a lead. And they just couldn't. They just gave up trying to run the ball basically. Dowdle averaged 5 yards a carry. I think Zeke only averaged 2.1, something like that. And Anzalone was flying to the ball. Campbell was flying to the ball. The defensive line was making plays all over whenever they ran. As far as the run game, that was maybe the place the Lions dominated the game more than any place else. I think was taking away their run game and establishing their own.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Well done by the Lions. And if we move over to special teams, there's definitely something we like there. Jake Bates, 4 for 4 on field goals. 48 yards was his longest. 5 for 5 on extra points. And I'm going to point this out again. There was a penalty, I believe, after St. Brown's touchdown that moved the ball back. Jake Bates' extra points look better when they have penalties assessed before he attempts those extra points. So I don't get worried if here's a 15-yard penalty on the extra point. I'm just going to put that out there. But, man, Bates, we got to see his leg a little bit with that 48-yarder. How's that make you guys feel?
Just good to see him get those bigger ones in a game like that, because now we know that if it comes down to crunch time in a big game and he has to do it for the win, he's gonna hammer it. I mean, it's just, again, we've talked about him. You guys, all three of us talked about him at the beginning of the year, and after we kept him and stuff, how they just keep building his confidence level. And then he went in there and just kept banging, and talk about a game to where he could have kicked and probably not been as focused, because as he's running out there looking on the scoreboard going, oh my God, this is for 39 points, and he came in and did what he was supposed to do, made sure we got 3 points on the board when we should have gotten 7, and just kept adding to the lead, and turned it into a 2-score, 3-score, 4-score lead, and then, rest is history. So it was good to see that strong leg.
All right, well, let's turn over to things we didn't like or concerns we have. Let's start with a couple minor ones. And Coach, I'm going to let you weigh in on this first one. Kickoff coverage. Was that just the one play? Is it just the Cowboys returner where they faked the reverse that's got the Lions where they allowed a couple returns? Because most teams we haven't seen return a whole lot. Is that an issue, or is that just that's what kind of happened here?
Well, it's what, first of all, I thought we may have gotten a little complacent because it was 6 yards deep, but we talked about this on the scouting report. Turpin is, that dude he doesn't get a lot of reps, even though now he's playing more wide receiver. So a guy like that's going to go, I'm taking it out. I don't care. And they ran a great scheme. They faked the reverse on it. He hit the seam. I think it's when you don't, it's a practice concept. When you don't see that a lot, somebody take it. He's probably the first guy that's taken it from, I think it was probably 5 or 6 yards deep on that one, maybe 8. I mean, he was deep, and we have not probably seen that. You can't simulate that in practice. So again, great coaching moment for us. Great time to tell the guys, boy, you got to go. And they did a nice job blocking it up. But that kid is tough, and we knew that was happening. So I think it's more him and it's more of us not having enough reps in a situation like that. Now that we've done it, I'll guarantee it's better next week if that happens again.
All right, James, your thoughts on that, as well as the Lions had 8 penalties for 63 yards in the game. That's something I would like to see cleaned up a little bit. I think some of them we can say maybe they're debatable. But so what are your thoughts on those two topics?
Well, yeah, then their special teams, obviously they need to work on that. I mean, averaged 48.5 yards on 4 returns, Turpin did. So that's not good. That's basically one of the only negatives outside of the Hutchinson injury. On the Lions side of the returns, though, Khalil Dorsey had 1 return for 34 yards when the Lions actually had a return. They did a pretty nice job on it. The penalties, right. And a couple of those were holds early, and we had talked about this crew doesn't really call pass interference much. They call defensive holding more. And they called a couple of those early, but then they kind of just seem to not call that too much later. They let hand fighting go between receivers and DBs quite a bit, which I was happy to see. I think that they should do that in the NFL a lot more. So the penalties don't worry me too much. And they even started talking about it in the announcers even started talking about it in the game about how they can't call us for pass interference on every play. So that's kind of their attitude with Terrion Arnold. He had some great coverage on a lot of plays.
That he did. Coach, any concerns on the penalties, or it's just kind of the way the game went and you move on?
Yeah, I think you move on. I mean, I'm not sure what St. Brown's penalty was for at the end where, cost us the 15-yard. You said it. We're not really worried if we get a 15-yarder on that because we know that Bates has got the leg to get it. But hopefully that one does not come back to haunt us. I'll guarantee. I'm not. And again, I have no idea what St. Brown got one for. I don't know if he's yelling at somebody, said somebody dancing on somebody, whatever. He got a little chippy out there a couple times. So, the first couple holds on defense, come on, guy. I mean, we tackled the guy. I mean, we wrapped the guy. And it was funny because I just texted some guys. They were oh my God, that on our long pass with Patrick, when they didn't call the pass interference, I said, I'm happy these guys don't call. They only call about 2 pass interference calls a game. And then, of course, we got, 3 or 4 holding calls right away. So, yeah, it'll be stuff we clean up and stuff that, that I think the defensive coaches will just say, let it go, man. It's going to be a 5-yard catch, and we're going to rally around the ball, and it's going to be punting time. So, just quit giving them that 5-yard automatic first down is what is stuff that's killed us, and that's it. But it'll get cleaned up.
Go ahead, James. You got something?
Yeah, as long as we're on officiating, I thought it was great that during the game, the announcer said that Decker obviously did report last year.
Yeah.
When they were talking about that whole scenario from last season.
I'm surprised they were allowed to say that.
What are you going to find Brady?
No, it was the other guy.
Oh, yeah, it was okay.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk about the injury to Hutch in just a moment. I'll push it back just a little bit further because we're gonna go into that kind of deep. So I want to quickly talk about turning points in the game or pivotal moments. And I think the first one I already alluded to for me was that interception by Branch in the first quarter, because I believe Dallas had 3 points at that point, and they were driving. They were moving the ball pretty well that second drive with some passes. And, Branch played it perfectly, Coach. You kind of talked about this already, where he kept the guy he was responsible for in front of him with some cushion, and then he was able to float back and make that interception. I thought that was huge. Coach, you want to speak to that a little bit more? And was there any other thing that you thought was pivotal?
Yeah, I mean, again, go back to the Branch concept. It's just a great read, great job setting it up, great job baiting it, for Dak. He baited him. I mean, it was just a great bait call. And again, that stuff just sticks out. The other pivotal point for me, I think, was Tim Patrick's catch. I think that was a huge pivotal point for us. That was a huge play and got us down there for, a touchdown right away. So, you take those two, those are like 14-point swings. That's between the interception to stop them from, having 10 on the board. because I think they had 3 at that point, and then to turn around, and then we hit the big one to Patrick, and we scored a touchdown on that one. So 14-point swings in a game like that turns Dak Prescott, and as James said earlier, one-dimensional offense where they have to throw the ball, and our D-line with Coach Williams is just drooling when they get to pin their ears back and go get the quarterback.
James, how about you? Comment on either of those pivotal moments or add another one.
Yeah, and the Branch one I think was very, very big. Dak kind of stared down his receiver on that play, and Branch just read his eyes and went right to the ball when the ball was released. So that was a huge play. And then the Lions just scoring those 2 big touchdowns after that. The trick play to Laporta for 52 yards, and then the following they got a field goal right after that. But then the David Montgomery 1-yard touchdown run that really put him in command in the game and had Dallas playing from way behind, from the middle of the second quarter on. That David Montgomery play, I think they put 2 extra offensive linemen in, so they had 7 linemen in on that play, and just said, we're going to run it, and you can't stop us, and they did.
That's awesome that they can do that, and that was impressive. And I'm going to add one more. The first drive of the third quarter for the Lions offense. Coming out of halftime, you're up 27-6. It's 3rd and 8 from the 37-yard line. Touchdown pass to Jamison Williams makes it a 34-6 game for the Lions. At that point, you're like, Dallas needs to score 28 points on us to tie us. And the way this defense is playing, I don't see that happening.
Here. That's a great call. That's a great call.
All right, guys, let's move into the tough part here. Aidan Hutchinson was injured early in the third quarter. It was reported he broke his tibia, having immediate surgery. James, talk about this injury.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily friendly fire, but I mean, he is that play when he was sacking Dak Prescott. He's kind of in the air, and his leg hits Aleem McNeil's leg. And if you see the video on Twitter or anywhere else, just don't watch it. I scrolled through Twitter and saw a video that automatically started playing, and I could not see it. It's probably a broken tibia and fibia, I'm going to guess, from what I saw. But a broken bone is better than torn ACL or Achilles or anything like that. Depending on how clean the break is, maybe he could be back by the end of the season. I've seen over here in high school ball this year, several players who broke their leg very early in the season have come back already. But obviously it depends on how clean it was. They're getting it operated on immediately. Could be a million things. Could be out for the season. Could be out for a couple months. And we'll see. How the Lions move forward will be interesting. If they trade for somebody, if they just go in house, if they try to sign somebody off the street who they think can help. They're going to need somebody to step up somehow.
Thanks for that, James. Coach, what are your thoughts? What are you at on all this?
Well, it's bittersweet. As soon as it happened, Duke, my son, sent me a text right away and said, how's your emotions right now? You have a bag of mixed emotions. And I did. I mean, the Lions are destroying Dallas, but the injury, from a coaching standpoint, I remember in games, and I remember a teammate of mine did the same thing, broke his lower leg. And it's, you can't grab it. You can't come around it. You can't, it's just, oh my God, he's down. I mean, seeing Dan Campbell's face on the TV going, oh no, oh my God, because he feels, and it wasn't just about him losing a player. It wasn't just about him losing Hutch. He would do that with any of them. It was about him like losing a son. It's, oh my God, the guy that's worked his tail off, and now all we hope for is good health with that situation. So it's huge, man. And to watch the Lions do what they did defensively after that happened, because that is a tough situation to be in emotionally as a football player, knowing the next man up. That could happen to me. And those guys just buckled it up and said, we're going to play extra hard because Hutch isn't here right now. And I think that's one of the things we're going to see out of these guys. Now we have Hutch down, we have Davenport down, and we have Barnes down. Okay. Nobody talks about this stuff, but that's 3 big boys down from our defense. Two substantial leaders in Barnes, and not that I'm not saying Davenport's not with Hutch, but the heart and soul of the defense is Hutch. He's the heart and soul of our defense. Not that none of these other guys aren't great too, but how he goes, we go. So the situation is how we're going to make up for that. My thought right now, Hutch, just get better, dude. Prayers are with you, and the team and the boys will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think I echoed a lot of those same emotions. I mean, the jubilation that was being filled in the house got sucked out with that. The lead didn't change, but you saw Hutch go down, you saw the injury, and suddenly there was a lot more concern going on. And you couldn't quite celebrate the lead and what was likely going to be an eventual victory quite as much because of that. Because you're so concerned about the player, his health, and everything. And, you pointed out, you must be, I didn't share this part of the notes with you, but exactly. That's the 3rd person on the front 7 of our defense to be down now with injury for a prolonged period of time. And let me ask you guys this question. Oh, it's our 4th, James. I'm sorry, who did I miss? Oh, Patrick.
Yep.
No, who?
John Kaminsky.
Oh, preseason.
John Kaminsky's out. Yep. Yeah. But maybe he can come back, they said, by the end of the season. So that could be another body that comes back. And then Broderick Martin. But are they going to replace Hutch? No. Nobody's going to.
So here's a question I want to pose to you guys. I think you could argue Jared Goff might be the most valuable position player on the team. And again, the Lions have done such a great job of building a team effort that you don't necessarily want to single out and say, this person's the most important, that's the second most important. But we do know there are some vital spots and some vital talent levels on the team. And so if Jared Goff is the number 1, is Aidan Hutchinson the second most important player on the team?
I think no doubt about it. Yeah. The offensive line is a collective. So I think maybe you could take any one player out of there. I think number 3 would probably be Penny Sewell. But I think Hutchinson just makes such an impact on the game. He was the odds-on favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. He's the heart and soul of that defense. Everybody on the team, adores the guy. So to lose him is astronomical.
Coach?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was just putting thoughts in my head. It's one of those things when you talk about players in certain situations, who's number 1, who's number 2, and again, it's an offense defense concept. James made a good point with the offensive line. It's in a critical situation. If the defense is on the field, what are the 3 of us saying to the TV as we're watching it, or the fans at home? Hutch, get a sack. Or if the offense is on the field and we need to score in 22 seconds, Goff, make a play. And those are the things, St. Brown's going to make that play. We have so many guys that are going to step up and make those plays. But when you're talking about the engines, I guess, the little engine that could, or whatever you want to say it, those guys are those guys to you. And I think that's one of the things, I'm thinking about when he's hurt, and I'm seeing they're showing the faces of everybody on that field, and who's out there pounding them on the chest? Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboy DN, the Dallas Cowboys best player, because that's the respect that not only he has, but also Parsons saying, oh my God, one of my fellow football players, it had nothing to do with whether it's the Detroit Lions or Dallas Cowboys. One of my fellow football players, one of the guys that's going to probably beat me out for Defensive Player of the Year, it just went down, and nobody ever wants to see that, And I went through the Mike Utley thing, and you guys I was there, I was friends with it, just all those things, all those emotions come in, and And you're right. It's going to be hard. Like James just said, nobody can replace him, but 11 bodies can. So let's go.
Exactly. And like we said, that this team is so talented, and it really is a collective. And it's not just one or two superstars on this team, but we also know how vital of a role Hutchinson does play. Now, and I don't even know if it was an hour or two, after the event happened, after the injury took place, because I think I started seeing stuff on social media before the game even ended. But we got to talk about the NFL trade deadline. It's coming up November 5th. That's 3 weeks away. And on our bye-week show, we said we don't see the Lions make any big moves, unless maybe an injury happens or whatnot. Now, it's too early to say because you got to wait and see how the next couple weeks play out. That's my personal opinion. And I also still have the opinion that if the Lions do make a trade for somebody in the front seven of a defense, that seems to be the area that they would maybe want that on, maybe the defensive line. I don't think it's going to be a home run name that's going to be a huge splash like everybody thinks, because I don't think that's the Lions' MO. But I do think there is a chance they could make a move if a week or two from now they see a need for it. But I think it's way too soon to talk about that definitively. James, I'll start with you, and then Coach, to hear from you on this.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, we talked about guys like Hassan Reddick. He's a different kind of player than Hutchinson. He's not a big defensive end who's going to be your every down guy who's going to stop the run too. If they were going to make a trade, one team, if I was them, that I would call, that if they decided they wanted to do this, would be the Cincinnati Bengals, and ask them about the availability of Trey Hendrickson. He requested a trade in the offseason. He's not holding out like Reddick is, but he's been playing. But the Bengals are 1-4, and they're at halftime right now, and they're only up 7-0 on a very bad New York Giants team, and their leading rusher is Joe Burrow. So things are not great for them. So if they can get some extra draft picks, maybe they look at making that trade. I mean, he's 29. He's got, I think, another year left on his contract after this, and he wants a little bit more money, but or an extension at least. He's a name that could maybe see.
All right, and Coach, we talk about next man up, and the Lions have done that well, but we also talked about the high level that Hutch is. Do you see the Lions potentially bringing somebody else in to add to the depth of the room, so we're not bringing everybody up from the bottom and trying to bring somebody off the street, but maybe bringing somebody in who has a higher talent level?
I think they'll run it. From what we've seen with them, they're never going to jump. They're not going to think the ship is sinking and jump overboard. And I just don't see that. I see AG in a meeting tomorrow going, hey, listen, okay, I can use this guy in this, and I'll run this package, and that guy in this, and run that package. Maybe Houston, we're going to use Houston. He's going to be up with us, but he's only going to be in third and long situations because we know he's going to put pressure on. By committee, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. That's what I see them doing right now, by committee. But James said it. Hutch plays 96% of the snaps. Okay. And because now if you're subbing guys in, that tips the defense a little bit. That tips the offense to where they can check and say, hey, let's run at that guy. He's a terrible run stopper and things like that. But, AG's smart enough, been around long enough to dial up some things. But my biggest thing is with Hutch, Davenport, Barnes, Kaminsky, I can't believe I forgot about my boy Kaminsky. But with those guys out, and then with Martin out, we filled that in on the inside. Levi's playing well, but Levi, Pascal's playing well, but we don't have that person that makes them play well because they're so worried about that person. So I just see, I think they're going to be looking, and I think they're talking, and would not be surprised if Brad Holmes is on the horn on the plane. I really believe that, trying to say, do you want to do it, and what would it take? And we have that extra roster spot, and we have guys on that practice squad that the reason we have the extra roster spot, so somebody can't snatch one of them or steal one of them. So there may be some guys on that roster spot that we could trade away and at least get a deal and fill in. We got some cap money, even though we paid Montgomery. which was totally awesome. I know you wanted to talk about that. So.
Oh, for sure. And I don't doubt it either that the Lions might make a move because they know what they have. I mean, you just saw an offense out there that did what it did. And we didn't give a shout out to Aaron Glenn. And when you hold the Cowboys to 9 points at home in their own building, I mean, coaching's huge. And Branch even talked about it after the game. And it was pretty hilarious what Branch said about it. And it was great that he complimented AG, putting him in the right spots to make the right plays. And it was impressive. The comment made by AG, not by AG, but the comment made was Dak was giving out freebies. And so I don't know if the coaching staff is going to like that too much from Branch, but that was an impressive game, and Aaron Glenn deserves a lot of credit for that. And James, you gave him a lot of credit for that Arizona game. Just thought we should do it again because he doesn't always get credit, and sometimes he gets a little criticism.
I totally agree with you, Glenn. I think our other safety got his 4th pick of the year too. And again, his disguises, his defense, his games, his bodies, his bringing different people in. He is using the talent that he has and the talent of the players that they have, or what each player has. He is getting the best out of each and every one of those individuals in the situations at the right time. And I think if it comes down to a defensive battle game right now, I think we have a shot to win it. When it comes to offense, ain't nobody matching us. But if it comes down to where somebody can kind of shut us down a little bit, I think AG is on his game right now, is dialing things up. That 4th and 2 play when Arnold made that play on that I think he ran they ran a hook or went out and hooked it back in, or went in and hooked it out. And Arnold made that. I can't remember exactly how the pass play was. Just AG was so excited on that play because I think he knew it was coming, and he put and that was against Turpin. That was Arnold against Turpin, and Turpin is a great athlete, and Arnold's a pretty good athlete too. So, kudos to AG. I've backed him. You guys, I think we've all backed him since we've had him, and I'm gonna hate to lose him next year because he's going somewhere as a head coach. But just keep us going right now, AG.
Well, and the announcers kept talking about how banged up the Cowboys were. I got a little tired of that storyline they were trying to push. But again, that was mostly on the defense. And their offense didn't do much against this Lions defense. And that just was darn impressive. Mm-hmm. James, anything to add on that?
No, to piggyback on your thing with them going on the narrative of the injuries, during the pregame, they had Matthew Stafford on Fox during their pregame, and he picked the Lions, but he said that they were going to be able to steal one, quote, steal one, because of all the injuries. And I think 47-9 is a little bit more than stealing one.
I'm glad you shared that because here's how I feel about the whole Stafford thing. First off, I look forward to playing the Rams again anytime, anywhere, and it will not bother me. We took care of them in the playoffs, which was really important and the most important, and we took care of them to open the season. Here's the way I view the Stafford thing. I think most Lions fans appreciated him while he was in Detroit. And there were some detractors, as there always are. I mean, there were some Jared Goff detractors until recently, and who knows, there might still be some out there somewhere. But I think Stafford is probably happy and thankful for the Super Bowl he won in Los Angeles with the Rams. But at the same time, I think he probably wishes he was still part of this Detroit Lions team, seeing what they're doing. So there's probably some conflict inside of him, which creates a comment like that you just said, James, where he can't fully be happy because, I mean, if you look at the crowd and the atmosphere that Jared Goff and the Lions play in, Matthew Stafford has not played in that type of atmosphere with the Rams because even their home games feel like road games. And so I think there's so much to it. And, I wish him well and whatnot, but I kind of see that might be a complex thing that he's just got to try to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going on the crowd, go to the crowd that you were talking about, did you hear the crowd on TV in this game? You could hear the Jared Goff chants on TV. You could hear "Let's Go Lions" chants on TV. Whenever there was an interception or a fumble, it sounded like the Cowboys did it. The Lions fans there were incredibly loud. There was even a Hendon Hooker Jared Goff chant when they put Hooker in the game that you could hear on TV.
That is incredible. And, you know, the fact that Hendon Hooker got in and played in a game. I mean, guys, we didn't even kind of talk about that part, but this may have been the most dominant performance from start to finish of a Detroit Lions football game we have seen since I don't know when. I mean, and it was against a team with a winning record, too. It wasn't like we were playing a 1-4 team or a 1-5 team.
Yep. Team that scored all those points last year, and for some reason they're not scoring them this year yet. They were home. Their back was against the wall. They needed the win. They needed to keep pace in their division. They had everything to play for in that game, and we took the life right out of them, and I love it.
Well, let's talk about David Montgomery. 12 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a whole lot of effort and attitude. And we're talking about him, Coach, because that contract extension, that news that broke Saturday night. Guys, I just James, you've got the contract extension details. Can you bring that up and kind of let us know what they all did?
Oh, yeah, the extension was 2 years, $18.25 million. So he's going to make a little over $9 million a season for those 2 extra years on the end of his contract. So, yeah, I mean, it's the difference. One of the differences between the Lions and the Cowboys. The Cowboys decided to go cheap at running back this year and bring back Rico Dowdle, who was an undrafted free agent a year ago, and Ezekiel Elliott on a league minimum or not much more than the league minimum contract. And Ezekiel Elliott is definitely showing his age. Their third running back, missed this game, and then their next guy would be Dalvin Cook, probably, who's also, I think, way past his prime. So they went cheap at running back, and it kind of shows. The Lions have not. They've invested in the position, and they're reaping the benefits.
Well, and I love that he got this pay raise with the extension, so that way he's getting paid as much as DeAndre Swift is in Chicago now. It's only fair for David Montgomery to be earning that much money. I would say the Lions are spending their money better than the Bears are on that position right now, but that's just my personal opinion. Because the night the Lions signed David Montgomery, I think I did like an emergency podcast because I was like not able to sleep that night because I was that excited. Because I remember him with the Bears. I always thought the Bears used him wrong. They didn't use him right. They didn't use him enough. And the type of runner he is. And I'm going to leave you with this, and you guys can weigh in on anything else, but I love Dan Campbell's thoughts after the game. He said he couldn't see the Lions without him in a couple of years. And his final words were, they weren't just going to let him walk away. And I was like, yeah, I know somebody who did. And I think they might regret that. And so he's a Detroit Lion, though, through and through. He brings everything to this team that you want out of a football player. And I've been fortunate enough to see him close up at Lions training camp. And he does everything the right way and has the right attitude. Coach, what do you want to weigh in on Montgomery with?
You know what? His stats, what he does, how he runs, how hard he runs, how he always falls forward. We see that on film every day. He's getting the nasty running back run awards and all that stuff. But here's a quote after the game today. I'm not sure if you guys heard it. Aidan is definitely the heartbeat of our team and that defense. We're going to take it personally. We want to do it for 97. That's freaking Montgomery's quote. Nothing about his game. He knows nothing about his game. All he talked about was, he talked a little bit about it, but was Aidan Hutchinson. That's on his mind. We want to do it for 97. He's our heartbeat. Well, guess what, David Montgomery, you're our heartbeat now. Let's go. I love it.
Here, James.
Yeah, Fox, another thing they did in their preview show was they had a sit-down interview with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. as one of the best running back duos in the NFL. They tried to push the nickname of them as peanut butter and jelly,
No.
and they didn't really seem to be going for it because they came up with their own nickname. And I'm not sure how Fox didn't know about this already, but they came up with their own nickname for themselves of Sonic and Knuckles, which I think fits a heck of a lot better given their running styles.
I agree completely. And, I love a peanut butter and jelly sandwich as much as anybody, but I'm okay with them being Sonic and Knuckles. And I agree that, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, he said there are some individual running backs in the NFL who might be more talented than one of these guys, like Christian McCaffrey. But there is not a better running back field, is what I said. There's no better running back room than the Detroit Lions running back room in the NFL. I felt that coming into the season. I think we're seeing that. And I think as the season carries on, that's going to be very important because they're going to keep each other fresh, and they both have skills that overlap with each other. Before we get out here, Coach, I do have a question. I actually want to hear from both of you guys, and you already kind of brought it up, but trick plays, all right? I think you might even heard the announcers say, why are the Lions doing all these trick plays? Why don't they save them for later? Because it seems like there's a new trick play happening every game. After the game, post-game interview, I'm not sure who it was that talked about it, but they said they actually have multiple in their playbook, and if they get a certain look, they'll run them. They just haven't always gotten those looks. So, Coach, the average fan might think, well, save these for when you really need them, like the Philly special. You pulled that out in the Super Bowl, right? But talk about the advantage on the other side of that coin.
Well, if it doesn't come up, if the situation doesn't come up that they practice it, it's not gonna. You can save it all you want, but it's gonna be on the shelf for next year because you can't when your situations come up and you came up with something and said we're gonna do this trick play in this situation. If this happens in a game, that's when you do it. That's why the players play for the Detroit Lion coaching staff, because they tell you they're going to do stuff. They don't just, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to get you a touchdown pass this week if this situation comes up. And if that situation comes up and they don't run it, what does Sewell say? Yeah, right. Whatever, coach. So those are the things people have to think about. And it's always in those situations. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fake a punt if it's 4th and 5 or less the first time we have the ball in the state championship. We don't get it, right? That's life. And that's the thing with these guys. So I love it. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You have to think about it. Now everybody's like, oh my God, there's everybody watching that. Plus, they're going to be watching that all week long on Good Morning Football and first call. Every show is going to be showing that, and it's going to drive people crazy. And that's what we want. We want everybody to always think about the Detroit Lions. Love it.
Well, as you said, Coach, on that 1 yard run from first and goal, they're going to have to hesitate before they sell out on that run up the middle, because it might not be a run up the middle. James?
Yeah, and the other thing I think is the more trick plays that the Lions run, the more teams are going to have to prepare for it, just like Jerry said earlier. But the Lions also are not calling these trick plays if they don't have any other ones. So they've got more in the bag. And he's using these trick plays and putting them out there with the teams to set up other trick plays in the future.
Yes.
And teams are going to have, and it's getting to the point where their Lions have run so many trick plays already in the last 2 years that teams can't prepare for them all.
The Rams were the greatest show on turf. Could the Lions becoming the funnest show on turf?
I like it. That's a good one.
I think so.
Can we get a quick shout out? Today was Jerry Jones's 82nd birthday. I just want to tell him happy birthday.
It was his 82nd birthday. I don't know if he appreciated his present so much, but one of the plays that hurt his team was the sun got in the eyes of his receiver, and I'm wondering why he didn't design the stadium different and shifted a different angle so the sun wouldn't get in those eyes.
It's all about winning the coin toss, and which I'll guarantee it has to do with that. And they took the ball first. and they know where the sun's at that. I've had games on that, Mike, that we talk about that at the coin toss. If we defer, we want to kick, or we want to kick because we want to let the team take it because we want to dictate where we're going to kick and where the sun's going to be. And there it is. So that backfired taking the ball first. They must not have read their notes well.
Excellent point. I didn't think about them doing that intentionally and whatnot. So great point on that, on knowing that aspect. Again, show's getting a little long here, but I want to just quickly recap or talk about the NFC North. I mean, everybody in the NFC North still has a winning record. The Vikings were on a bye. They're at 5-0. Lions are 4-1. Green Bay and Chicago both won this week, so they are 4-2. There are now only 8 remaining teams in the NFC with a winning record. Half of those teams reside in the NFC North. Any quick thoughts on the division before we get out of here?
Scary. Black and blue.
To piggyback on the Jerry Jones thing, his middle name is Wayne, so his middle initial is W, but the Lions got him an L today.
Mic drop. That's a great ending. James, Coach, thank you guys so much for being here. Great show today. Great win by the Lions.
Very fun. See you next week after a dub.
And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. You can find more episodes and content at notthesameoldlions.com. Tell your friends and family about the show. Like, comment on socials. Please subscribe regardless of the listening platform. And until next time, stay gritty, my friends.
Growing your business can mean big-time logistical questions, like how are we going to keep up with all these local deliveries? Let Uber Direct offer you a helping hand. With Uber Direct, you take orders on your website, app, or by phone. Then drivers who are part of Uber's courier network pick them up from your store and deliver them to your customer's doorstep. Sounds simple, right? Uber Direct helps you give your customers what they want when they want it. Offer them delivery options in under 2 hours, on the same day, or scheduled up to 30 days in advance. Plus, share real-time tracking and ETAs by text. You can keep growing your business at a price that works for you. Never pay commission or hidden charges. Just pay a fixed fee per delivery. Delivery just got better with Uber Direct. Learn more at uberdirect.com.
At Kroger Pharmacy, CARE is making it easy to get vaccinated. CARE is helping you stay protected from flu, COVID, and RSV. Seasonal vaccines are available 7 days a week with evening hours. CARE is giving you a shot at staying healthy this season. Walk in whenever is best and get multiple vaccines in one visit at your local Kroger Pharmacy. So come and get the protection you need while protecting those around you. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Visit Kroger.com/vaccines for more. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See site for details.